Hello and welcome to the Painted Podcast. My name is Marie St. Sandy, the host, the art mistress, the curator. I'm yet to find a title for myself. And today we are joined by our very special guest, Zulaa Fleming.
Hello.
So I am going to let you introduce yourself a little bit. So I'll just ask your name, pronouns, where you're from and or based, and what it is that you do.
I'm Zulaa. Zulaa Fleming is actually my government name.
Oh, sorry for doxing you there.
Yeah. People get it confused, yeah, but my drag name is just Zulaa. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm based in Glasgow.
Lovely. So, how long have you been doing drag for?
Recently I just officially debuted, but I would say I've been doing drag for years now, just going at clubbing. Mostly when I go out to club nights such as Pony Boy, I usually just dress in drag. That's how I actually got discovered quote unquote by Pony Boy, because I put a lot of effort into my looks and try and, I don't know, do drag when I go out because it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. Like when you go out, and for many of us that start out in drag, and it was certainly the case for me. The way that I got, I suppose, discovered in a way was actually just by turning up to events in drag, although I will say I did not look half as good as you do because I was 20 years old. I had just picked up a makeup brush and people are like, yeah, she's pretty. But the one thing I do notice about your looks is that they are very, very elaborate. I remember seeing a look of yours and you were painted entirely pink.
Yeah.
With this very like minimalist editorial kind of like eye and lip. What was like the kind of, so where do your inspirations generally come from?
I would say most of my duct tape garment inspirations, they come from like 90s haute couture, high fashion. I like my silhouettes to be like replicative of Mugler a lot.
Yeah.
They're old school like looks. Yeah, I like that silhouette. But yeah, when I start painting myself, I guess that was just Pinterest. Like I spend a lot of time on Pinterest, just looking for inspiration and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, usually like what I can sort of gather from your looks is that there's a very clear intent and vision, and then you're able to execute that. Because I think I work in kind of more an opposite way, where I have a very generalized, rough kind of idea, just like today, and I sort of let the process guide me along. Would you say that you are more like you're like mood boarding and having the actual vision in your head and getting there, or would you say there's an element of freestyling in there as well?
Yeah, most of my looks, I usually get the details down when I'm getting ready, like in front of the mirror. I'm like, okay, what do I do today? Because in a lot of the events that I dress up for, they're already themed. So, like, I think the one you were referencing was the Ponyboy X Inferno one, where the theme was hell. So I just tried to do like a demon look.
Yeah.
So from that one, I think I wanted to be like all red, but then I was like, maybe that's too on the nose. Maybe I'll just be pink because I like pink. And then yeah, that just like sprouted from there. And I was like, what kind of demon do I want to be? Yeah.
Yeah.
It just comes from like the themes, and then the details itself. I have a rough idea, and then in front of the mirror, like I then execute it, and I just like improvise a lot, I think.
Yeah. So when did your love for makeup kind of start? Like how old were you?
I would say definitely at a young age. I was very interested in like runway shows on TV and just being enamored by the looks. And I would say specifically makeup wise, I got my first palette when I was like 11 or 12 from my grandparents on Christmas. And yeah, that was when I was like, oh, I can start doing makeup now because I have a palette.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have like any other kind of visual forms of expression? Because for me, certainly I dabble a little bit in like watercolor painting and stuff like that. It's a project that my partner Jam and I sort of do together. But I would say my main visual medium is probably projections and makeup. Is there like other areas or other hobbies or things and do they ever intertwine maybe with the drag?
Yeah, I've always been into art from when I was a child. My grandparents, especially my granny who raised me up, she was very artsy. She taught me how to sew, how to crochet, how to knit. And we would do these like paper collages and stuff at our free time. What else? Like painting, yeah. And it stemmed from there, I think. And when I came here to Scotland, my mother, she's also a seamstress. She's a dressmaker, so she further taught me how to sew, I guess. Like gave me inspiration. That kind of made me realize that it's realistic to become an artist. Because yeah, even though my granny taught me all those things, she was still like an academic. She would teach me to be like, I guess, good at math and good at trying to, lure me into that direction because there's more money, I guess.
Yeah, I think that it's quite common that with families, in my case, it actually kind of worked because I wanted to be a screenwriter for the longest time. Ooh. Yeah, and I wanted to do a degree in media, but then I ended up doing a degree in marketing because I was like, oh, this will be safer, but it will still be like somewhat creative. And I'll just tell you all now, marketing is not a creative degree. There are so many, like, especially if you're doing a generalized marketing degree, but it does teach you, I suppose, how to present things.
Yeah, how to market yourself as an artist.
How to brand as well. You do pick up a little, you find your Brat Summer moment. But I always find it interesting, though, when I meet an artist and there are other creatives in the family, but it's always like they have aspects of creativity, but they're not fully committed. Yeah. And what happens is you get this one person, this one generation that just completely like absorbs it all and is like fully committed.
Yeah, it's funny because as my gran was a child, it was her dream to like open up a shop and be a dressmaker, and she couldn't do that because like it was like the Soviet Union days when she was a child in Mongolia, which is where I'm from. So art wasn't very like an option for her. And when my mother grew up, she like realized her dream. Like, yeah, the daughter realized the mother's dream, as in like my mother grew up and became a dressmaker like my grandmother wanted to. And now I'm becoming like, I don't know, what my mom wants to, I guess, because she's always wanted to like be like more creative, I guess, do photo shoots and like do her own thing. And yeah, I think that's where I pick it up from. And yeah, my mother's also expressed that she wanted to be a jewelry maker as well. And I just graduated my jewelry degree. So, and that's very like realizing like the family members' dreams and stuff without even knowing it. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, because I never knew that my mom wanted to be like a jeweler or had any interest in like jewelry and stuff. But that's really cool to me.
Yeah. Oh, that's I didn't actually know that you had a degree in jewelry making. So I'm assuming then you make a lot of accessories, and I mean obviously the outfit that you've worn for the shoot today is something that you made yourself.
Yes.
Do you tend to make most of the garments and accessories that you wear?
Yeah, I do. Most of the jewelry I wear nowadays is mostly made by me. Um, I try and make everything that I wear, but obviously, like, sometimes there's just no time, or I already have an outfit that I could, like, rework, I guess. But I would say most of the stuff I have or wear is like either tailored to myself, altered, or recycled, or like made from scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really good skill to have because for a start, it's a lot more cost effective because being an artist is expensive and it is very, very little pay, which you will probably find as you do more gigs, that drag, certainly in Scotland, is so underpaid for what it is. Like if you go down somewhere to Manchester, you're getting like £150 for the gig.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Jam about that, about the rate of pay, and they were like, what? You're like, that's it? Like even at 150 quid.
Wow. Yeah, from my like very few experiences of like doing drag, it's nowhere near that amount.
No.
Yeah.
And drag is a very, very expensive hobby. Like there's so many things as well that you have to think of. I don't make my own things. I'm actually quite into getting custom things printed. So like designing like silly logos and things to put on t-shirts and stuff. But this is the general direction that I've gone in, where it's that my outfits are very, very pedestrianised, but they're well accessorised, which then actually becomes really, really expensive.
Yeah.
Because you're buying like a 50 quid pair of jeans, because denim is so expensive, and so are accessories, especially if you want nice accessories.
Yeah.
So moving back to, I suppose, the jewellery, would you then, what's the goal with that?
Since graduating college, obviously I don't have a workshop anymore, like a free workshop. So I have been trying to rent a workshop, but you know, it's very expensive, and for now, I think I'm taking a break from jewelry until I kind of save up more money and can afford the workshops and the equipment as well. I have most of the hand tools, but you would need like a polisher, like a pickle to like get all the grime off.
Yeah.
So that's like acid stuff. And then you'd need the container. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely saving up for that to then make more jewelry and sell.
Yeah. So through like your studies and obviously from making jewelry and stuff, have you been able to find a sense of, what's the word I'm looking for, like a network or a community amongst jewelry makers, or is it just primarily like artists in general really that you've found networking through?
With jewelry specifically, I would say I don't really know anyone, because it's all just students I'm surrounded with, and I'm not a big talker. I don't really talk to people unless I'm spoken to.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, I'm a bit introverted, I guess. And I don't think people want to talk to me. So like, if you want to talk to me, you will come up and talk to me.
I'm exactly the same.
Because I don't want to like intrude on people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I have not networked a lot with jewelers.
The thing is though, like, you know, having the skill to make jewelry, and if you are surrounded by artists, you know, we're always needing accessories, and so I think you are in a very good place, and I think you will also be able to find a market or an audience that you actually connect with as well, through going to things, you know, like Ponyboy, Majama, and stuff like that. You might find that once you start making up jewelry, that it's landing on the right necks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think that's why I always try to wear my own stuff, even if it's like some rings that I made or like the garments that I make, just so people can be like, oh, where did you get this? I can be like, I made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge part of it as well. It's that you have to be able to show and demonstrate skill. You know, skill that people might not necessarily know that you have, because once they find it out, it means that you're then in their head. And then when they need something, they'll be like, oh, I better, you know, call up Zulaa. And, I'm trying to gain a sense as well of, I suppose, the visual aspect of the jewelry. What are your influences there? Because obviously jewelry just is such a huge thing. You know, there's so many different forms.
Yeah, I would say I like everyday stuff. I just like wearing minimal stuff. Because it's easiest to make, I guess, and it's the most comfortable ones I have from the ones I've made in college. But lately, I think Mongolian traditional jewelry is my biggest inspiration, because it's very elaborate. It's very like maximalist kind of. That has a lot of patterns, lots of layers, and that's what I try to replicate in my jewelry. I like chunky stuff as well. So yeah, I like both minimal and chunky jewelry because I think they both complement each other well. Like, you can have a statement piece and then some small ones surrounding it. Yeah. I recently this year got into wearing chunky jewelry because I used to be someone that had, again, very minimalist, light, kind of delicate jewelry, because I'm actually like, cause I'm a really small kind of person. So I always thought, oh, like big chunky jewelry on me would look obnoxious. But I then discovered I've started wearing like really, really baggy jeans. And unless I've got a large piece of jewelry, it works to proportionize everything. Yeah.
And that's the one thing that you just don't really realize until either someone points it out or you just, just bucket and bind out. I think, the functionality of jewelry, it goes beyond decoration, obviously. Like, it really does proportionize everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's the same as well, like, there's similar principles with makeup. For example, today when we were doing your makeover, everything to begin with, it was all lines, it was flat, it was block color. You add the rhinestones and it actually brings a 3D element to it, which rounds it all off.
Yeah,
so,
it was like wearing jewelry on my face. Like...
Well, yeah, because they obviously replicate piercings.
Yeah.
So you spoke as well, obviously, about having Mongolian influences. So how old were you when you came to Scotland then?
I was 10 turning 11. So literally half of my life I grew up in Mongolia, and the other half I grew up in Scotland. So I feel like I have that, like, I still want to hold on to my culture, even though I am forgetting the language a little bit, which is really sad. But yeah, I think living here has made me want to connect to my culture more, because obviously, like, I don't think I'll ever fit in as like a Scottish person, just because like racism or whatever, but it's also made me really appreciate the fact that I am different and I am Mongolian, I guess.
Yeah, I think as well, like, obviously you spent the early half of your life in Mongolia and then the second kind of part in Scotland. It means that you will have references and insights that other people don't have.
Yeah.
And you can sort of, I suppose, blend the two of them together in a way. But I think what is also interesting is that you obviously spent your childhood in Mongolia, but then your adulthood obviously is here. And those are two very, very different periods of your life. But I do also tend to find that there are recurring threads that you soak up, the things that you pick up on when you're a kid, versus an adult. Because when I was a kid, I always picked up on pop culture, music, by pop divas, that kind of thing, and it is something that has very much informed to begin with, it informed the drag that I did.
Yeah.
Obviously, as time has gone on, I've picked up new influences. So it is really interesting to sort of look at that perspective that you can have.
Yeah, and yeah, I feel like when you think about like the stuff you were into as a kid, it's very like rose colored. It's very like sparkly and pink, and I don't know, like it's fun looking back and like remembering how you used to feel about the things that you liked. I guess that's how I tried to replicate it as well, like not how it is, but how it is in my mind as a 10-year-old,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's like, because I think people refer to it a little bit as nostalgia goggles.
Yeah.
It's and I quite often find that, say for example, I will go back and watch something maybe that I watched, or listen to an album that I listened to when I was a kid. But strangely enough, it does bring you back. It is quite transformative, and there is a little part of you that finds the same joy in it.
Yeah.
Although I will say sometimes you are perhaps a little bit more informed of what went into it, and that can sometimes be a little bit...
It can ruin it.
It can ruin it, yeah.
Yeah.
So you said it earlier that you had started doing drag. So what is your I mean, obviously you'll still be finding this out as you go along, but generally what's the kind of idea for the performance aspect of your drag?
What do you mean, like in the future, or?
Yeah, I suppose, like, what is the kind of performance style? What's the vision at the moment?
Yeah, I think I did 2 performances back then. Kind of psyched me out a bit. I was like, oh, this is real. I'm being perceived. This is a bit scary.
Yeah.
So for now, I think I will stick to like more... I don't think I will ever go to the mainstream drag scene, as it's a bit...
Yeah.
So I would I'm just gonna stick to my like the crowds that I know and I feel most comfortable with and that accepts me. Yeah.
I think that's a really, really important thing to realize as well, and to know. I think when you have that awareness of where you want to be and who your audience is, it will help you progress in your career in a way that is comfortable. Because for me, certainly, just talking on my own experience, it was not comfortable. I stepped into this monopoly and was basically forced to perform in front of crowds that I was sort of like, they are not here for me.
Yeah.
They are here for the hosts. They're here for the people that are running this shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not a good feeling.
No.
Being surrounded by people who don't really care about... Okay, I don't know if this is controversial, but
no, go ahead.
I don't think a lot of the audiences or the drag performers really care about drag. Like, they care about fame and popularity, which is really not what I like as a trait in a person. And just chasing fame and popularity and to be the next drag superstar, and I don't know, that really does not sit well with me.
No.
Yeah, especially knowing where drag comes from, knowing what it's supposed to do. These people use it as a way to get themselves on top rather than remembering what drag can do, I guess.
Do you know, it's so interesting though that you say that, because again, this is a conversation, a very similar conversation that I had with another artist. And we said that there are a lot of people that join drag because they think I'll get good at this and then I'll go on Drag Race.
Even if it's not Drag Race, just doing drag for the fame. I don't know.
It's, yeah, and that's where I get really confused. It's like, how can somebody want just fame? It's like, what about the art? Because the artistic process, I find, and I've always found, because my career has been a slow burner, deliberately, a very slow burning career,
Yeah.
because I have allowed myself to find every single artistic process
Yeah.
and make every single mistake that I can. And like and there's so much joy to be had in that.
Yeah. Like, I think my drag is more to do with my art. Like, I guess that's why, like, even my drag name is my actual name, Zulaa, because I don't see it. I kind of don't see myself as, like, a different persona. Like, I guess my quote-unquote drag has stemmed from my art. And, like, I've always loved to dress up. I've always loved to, like, have pretend lip syncs, like, in my bedroom with my cousin when I was in Mongolia, like, pretending I was a pop star and, like, lip syncing to them on the bed, like, looking at all my audiences
Yeah.
as if I'm on stage. And yeah, I guess I've always loved that, like the fantasy of that. Yeah. And then growing up, like coming here, discovering what drag was, that was like, oh, I can do that. That's what I've always like wanted to do as a kid. So yeah, I think, yeah, I will stick to the people that appreciate me, and like performing for my friends. And yeah,
and I think as well, to have that observation so early is like obviously just a really good sign, of a great artist. Because again, I think as soon as you step into that mainstream bubble, you can get very, very lost in it. And it becomes very damaging to your self-esteem, because you then start comparing yourself to other artists. You compare your trajectories with other artists. And what that happens then is that it completely rusts up the creative process, because you panic, you scramble, and you lose sight. But I think, so if we move actually back to the creative process of your drag, from what I've seen from everything that you've been doing so far, it's a little bit shape-shifty. There doesn't seem to be a set thing, which I really like, because it means we'll always be anticipating what it is you're going to do next.
Yeah, I think that's one of my biggest traits, I guess. I love being a shapeshifter. Like, even when I started doing my makeups and like during lockdown, little transformation videos on TikTok and stuff. Like, I've always been called a chameleon. Like, I've always changed my hair a lot, and I don't know, I just like taking on that new persona. And with my drag, I think I like the fact that I can do anything and everything. Even like drag king, drag queen, drag thing. Like, I love switching up in one number or in one night. So they're like, is that a new person? Oh no, that's Zulaa. Oh, like, I love that.
Because it's so exciting, because what happens is it becomes unpredictable for yourself. You're going to surprise yourself with what it is. Like, imagine a year today. There will be something that you will have done around this time next year, and we cannot anticipate it right now. I get so excited about that stuff. Like, I'm currently in the process, obviously we're recording all of this now, but I have no idea what this painted series is going to look like as a completed unit.
Yeah.
And that to me is so exciting.
Yeah, it's always like ever changing, updating itself, and just forming into new things. It's
Yeah.
very exciting.
I think as well though with drag as well, you know, I, for example, like I do a lot of different things, but there is cohesion to it because of the squiggle motif. And it's, you know, obviously really helpful to establish a brand. But I think in artists like yourself who are more chameleons, the difference aspect of it all is what actually becomes the brand in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I try to keep something, like with my duct tape outfits, the duct tape itself is the constant, I guess, and the silhouettes change, the colors change. Um, and with my performances, I do like stuffed, like big boobs, big muscles. I guess that itself is like the constant, even if I'm changing from like girl drag to boy drag, like they both have that stuffing, like pillow,
Yeah.
exaggerated effect. So I think that's the constant as well that kind of ties it together. Yeah.
You see, I find stuff like that really interesting when people play with the proportions of their body. But obviously a lot of drag queens do it. They pad and they have breastplates and stuff. But those traits are fixed, you know, in the sense of every time they put on their drag, they'll have, you know, X size breasts and X size hips and all of that. But I don't feel like there are very many people out there that actually, what's the word I'm looking for, go into surrealism with their
Right.
body, which I think is a really, you know, an hyper exaggeration.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that aspect as well. It looks kind of real, but like when you look at it, it looks a bit weird. So you want to look closer, and you're like, "Oh, are those tights? Is that stuffing?" Like, I mean, this isn't original. Like I've seen other people, like I said, on Pinterest, Instagram, even like that stuffing thing with the tights. Like a creative, their dancer Sean. Do you know?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Yeah, they do a lot of like, is that the foam? Like you squeeze it and it expands and it hardens.
Yeah,
Yeah, they put that in their like um tights and stuff. So that was like one of my inspirations as well. I was like, oh, that's really cool. It kind of looks like muscles. And then I was like, oh, what if I did muscles on myself? And yeah.
See, yeah, I've seen Sean's work before actually. I think I saw them at Fruit Salad. Yeah, Fruit Salad actually is something I would recommend as well. That is
Yeah.
a really good gig, because that's variety. It's not just a drag show. It's actually, you know, you get all like some of the stuff I have seen at Fruit Salad.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the hell do these people think of this?
Yeah.
But it's so exciting to have that on the doorstep.
Literally. They're very like versatile, very. Yeah, I actually used to watch them when I first met my partner like 2 years ago. Actually, exactly 2 years ago, we started going to their fringe shows because it was free, and every week, I think. And that's how I discovered like the Edinburgh artsy queer scene, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, drag scene. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's again, it's like what you want, like for your place as an artist is that you want to be surprising people in that way. And actually, again, what you were just saying earlier, it's the double take moment. You want people to look at you twice. Because I've had that quite a lot. With the squiggle motif, it's that you get people kind of going like, oh, because it looks almost like a filter sometimes.
Yeah.
Or people can't tell what it is. They're like, is it a mask? Or is it meant to be that I'm peering into your soul?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I definitely thought it was a mask at first. And then, like, when I was stalking you, and then I had to, like, zoom in and be like, oh, actually, it changes. And, like, it's makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, no, again, it's like really good when you find like that little stamp that you can come back to. For yourself, it's the tape. For me, it's the squiggle. Um, I think it does provide you a sense of security, but it's a framework as well to adapt. Because I am one of these people, I love anything that's like a collection or a set.
Yeah.
I used to like collect so many things. I used to collect stones, I used to collect trading cards, CDs. I'm actually really surprised that I've not fallen for the vinyl variant thing. I think it's because I'm like skint.
Yeah, it's a very expensive hobby.
Yeah, I mean, how many variants of Brat can I afford?
Literally.
I feel very, very sorry for Taylor Swift fans.
Oh my god.
Mainly because controversial take, mainly because she's shit.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast is getting shut down right
The
now.
Swifties.
The Swifties are gonna come.
They're gonna dox you.
I have a paintbrush. I have a paintbrush and good taste. Don't come for me.
I'm like that.
New tagline. Oh, new t-shirt actually. So I'm very aware of the time now, so we're going to have to wrap up. But do you have any sort of plans, for the future of your drag, I guess?
I would definitely think, I don't know, I guess this is a very like short-term future. I want to figure out how to do my makeup in a exaggerated way that both fits masculine and feminine drag, which I haven't figured out yet. I guess in the long term, I just want to be like, I want to incorporate all my photography skills or like photographer friends. Definitely want to do an exhibition that like collects all my arts together, like my paintings, jewelry. I definitely want to like hang up my duct tape pieces from the ceiling and just like create a Zulaa experience.
The vibe that I'm getting there is that almost it's like a piece of world building almost. It's like, what does the Zulaa-verse look like?
Yeah.
I've got my Sandyverse, which I always talk about, but creating, to quote Kamala Harris here, the context from which your creativity comes from.
Yes, my coconut.
Your coconuts. Well, I'm very, very excited to see what you produce, what you come up with, and keeping an eye on where your drag career kind of goes. And I think obviously you've got lots of ideas. You've got a fresh imagination as well, I would say, because I've not seen anything, like what you do. I think you've got your own. It's very rare actually to see somebody this early into I suppose a drag career, like coming out and performing, to have actually such an informed sense of who they are as a creative.
Oh.
Sorry, that was really, really,
really
soppy, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm lovely. No one knows this about me. I'm lovely. But it's really refreshing and exciting to see, and I think that is going to carry you through. And I think as well, just to reiterate, stick to that audience. Stick to that audience that you like, those people because it's going to serve you in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So before we sign off, do you have anything that you want to plug? Maybe your Instagram or...
Yeah, I'm thinking of changing my Instagram handle from Zulaa Fleming, because I feel like that's what people think a lot. Like my drag name is Zulaa Fleming, or yeah.
Yeah.
For now, it's at Zulaa Fleming, well, Zulaa.Fleming. Maybe in the future I'll change it. And yeah, I would say keep in tune with your little series happening right now.
Yeah.
Painted by Marie.
Got lots to do. I think for context, Zulaa is the second person that I have painted. So I don't know when you'll be posted. You could be one of the last ones. You could be the first one. Who knows? But
Yeah.
no. So obviously, again, if Zulaa changes their name on Instagram, you will be able to find it. I will have them linked in the posts. But thank you all so much for listening, and thank you, Zulaa, for coming along and getting painted and for talking on the podcast.
Thank you for painting me and
You are very
inviting
welcome.
me.
You're very welcome. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Stick around for a little preview of what's coming next. Bye-bye. Next time on the Painted Podcast.
I find that I became a drag king a little different to how other people become a drag king. When you're in the Highlands and you're doing drag, you want to be doing drag.
Yes.
If you're in the city and doing drag, that's just Tuesday.
Yeah.
If you're in the Highlands and doing it, you really want to be doing that art form, and you're like fighting against the odds to be doing that art form. You know what I mean?